Aloha, my name is Aaron. I'm with Hawaii Music School, and today I'm going to teach you some basic chords for the ukulele. Now the chords that we're going to go over are going to be pertaining to a C major key. Okay, so the chords that we're going to use a C major chord, we're going to use a D minor chord, an E minor chord, F major. We're going to use a G dominant 7, also known as G7. We're going to use the A minor chord. And normally we would use a B diminished, but I'm not going to do the B diminished today. Today we're actually going to learn two variations of the D7 chord. So hang tight and let's take a look at those chords. Now keep in mind I'm using a low G ukulele. A high G will sound similar, but it'll have that note on top rather than that note. Alright, let's take a look at the chords. So we're going to start with C. Now the C chord is made up of the notes C, E, and G. So I'm going to place my third finger on the third fret of the first string, leaving the C note open, the E note open, and the G note open, and also putting my finger down here on another C. So that gives us two C's, an E, and a G. The second chord we're going to look at is going to be a D minor chord. Now the D minor chord consists of the notes that follow C, E, and G, which would be D, F, and A. So we're going to use our first finger to hold the F note at the first fret of the second string. Our second finger is going to hold the A note at the fourth string second fret, and our third finger will be holding the D note on the C string. So it's the C string second fret. Now we're going to leave the A string open. Now keep in mind when we're holding these chords, we want our fingers to be arched. We don't want it to be flat. We don't want our fingers to fall backwards like this because it tends to hit the other strings. So we want to just use the very tips of our fingers and hold that chord. Our third chord is an E minor chord. We're going to use finger number 1, finger number 2, and finger number 3. Now again, keeping in mind we want to arch our fingers. Notice I keep my thumb hidden behind the neck. So finger number 1 is going to be on the second fret of the first string. Finger number 2 will be on the third fret of the second string. And finger number 3 will be on the fourth fret of the third string. We're going to leave the top string open so that it voices the G note. Again, we want to keep our fingers arched. Now the notes we're playing here are B, G, and this one is E. We also have a G on the top string. Those are the notes that make up the E minor chord. Our next chord is F major. We're going to use the notes F, A, and C. We're going to take finger number 1 and place it on the second string, first fret, and finger number 2 will be all the way at the top at the second fret. Now you may notice that this looks very similar to the D minor shape. We just lifted that finger off. So this is going to be our F major. Now we're taking special caution to make sure that we leave the third and first strings open. Let's take a look at the G7 chord. So we're going to take finger number 1, we're going to place it on the first fret, second string. Finger number 2 will be on the second fret of the third string, and finger number 3 will be on the first string, second fret. Now, what we want to be able to do here is arch all of our fingers. So in order to do that, we might be accustomed to holding our hand this way. And people have a tendency, when you hold your hand like this, it's harder to hold the chord. So what I do is I turn my hand a little bit sideways here. So it's almost like I'm at a 45-degree angle. I take my thumb, I use my thumb as my pivot, and my first finger goes there. Then I take finger number 2 and finger number 3 and place them just where I need them. Now we're going to use the notes D, F, and B. We're also keeping a G in here to give us the root note for the G7. Our next chord is A minor. A minor is a really easy one. We're going to take finger number 2 and put it all the way on the top at the 2nd fret. Now we're keeping in mind that we're going to arch this finger and we're leaving everything else open so that we're voicing the letters C, E, and A. We also have an A on top here, and that gives us an A minor chord. Now following the A minor chord, we're going to learn a chord called D7. This is the D7 that's used in most Hawaiian music. Ironically, there is no D in this chord. This is a D7 without a root. Alright, we're going to start with that A minor shape that we already know. And we're going to take finger number 3 and put it on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. We're going to keep in mind that we want to leave the C string and the A string open. So in this case, we have a C, we have an A, we have an F sharp, and that's going to make up our D7 chord with no root. Okay, now we're going to play the regular D7, and we're going to add in our root. So what we're going to do with this chord is we're actually going to bar the entire 2nd fret with our middle finger. And finger number 3 is going to be down here at the 3rd fret of the 1st string. This gives us the note D, F sharp, A, and C, which makes up a D7 chord. Now an alternative to holding the chord this way would be to use your 1st finger as the bar and your 2nd finger as the C note. Alright, let's take time to review. Our first chord was C major. Our 2nd chord was D minor. Our 3rd chord was E minor. Our 4th chord was F. Our 5th chord was a G7 chord. Then we had an A minor. Our first variation of D7. And then the bar form of D7, which we could alternately hold with our 1st finger. Alright, so that's going to give us a good starting place where we can begin to learn some songs in the key of C. So what you want to do is go through and make sure you're holding down the chords and every note rings clearly. You want to, again, make sure you arch your fingers. Don't let them lay down and touch the adjacent string, because that's how you get the muting thing going on. And we want to make sure that we're not too far back from the fret as we're pressing. We want to be right next to it. That way we don't get the buzz thing that happens. We also want to make sure that when we're switching through the chords that our hands are in comfortable positions. One example that I can give is when we're doing a G7 and going into the C chord. So I start here. Notice my hand is turned this way. It's not flat like how when I hold the C. My hand is almost flat this way. But as I go to the G7, I kind of turn my hand to the side. It makes for an easy transition. If I have to go to F from here, all I have to do is lift up this finger, put my finger on top. Now if I wanted to go from F to G7, same is true. I just go backwards. And to get back to C, I take my fingers off and I kind of swing my hand back this way. And so it makes for an easy movement, and it allows my hand to kind of get into the swing of the rhythm as well. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope it's been informative. And as usual, if you guys like the lesson, go ahead and hit that like button below. And if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also check me out on HawaiiMusicSchool.com. It's my website where I teach you how to play the ukulele from start to finish. We go over music theory, we go over songs, everything pretty much involved in the ukulele. We have a 2-week free trial membership. I hope you enjoy the lessons. Alright guys, aloha.